Welcome to our deep dive today. We are going to be exploring this fascinating concept from the Star Trek Voyager episode, The Cloud. What if nebulas, those big clouds of gas and dust we see in space, weren't just like cosmic weather? What if they were actual living beings?
It's a really wild thought, isn't it?
Yeah. This episode from way back in 1995, it really kind of flips the script on how we think about life out there.
Yeah, it challenges our kind of Earth-centric view of life, doesn't it? We tend to search for planets that have, similar conditions to our own. But this episode suggests that life could take on these like radically different forms that we might not even recognize at first.
Yeah, like we might not even know what we are looking at.
Right, exactly.
And that's what happens to Voyager in this episode.
Yeah.
They're on this mission to gather Omicron particles, which are sort of like fuel for starships.
Right.
And they encounter this nebula that's like super dense. And at first they're just like, oh, this is just weird space stuff.
It's just how space is sometimes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And it's a good reminder, I think, that even the most advanced explorers can be limited by like what they currently understand, We see what we expect to see, not necessarily what's actually there.
So true, yeah.
Yeah.
So Voyager plunges into this nebula hoping to snag some of these Omicron particles. And suddenly these strange organisms latch onto the hull and start draining their energy.
Oh, no.
And things are already kind of rough for the crew. They're 70,000 light years from home.
Yeah.
They're dealing with homesickness. They're rationing. They're going through this period of mourning called Nuanka.
It's tough out there.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how the episode kind of weaves those personal struggles into this big sci-fi narrative.
Right.
It's like even when you're facing these crazy cosmic mysteries, the human element is still there,
Always there.
Those everyday challenges.
Right, yeah. It underscores that no matter what you're facing, you're still going to have to eat. You're still going to have to, go to the bathroom. You're still going to have to deal with all the normal human stuff.
Exactly.
Even if you are in this, like you said, crazy cosmic situation.
Right. And just when things couldn't get weirder, they make this like startling discovery. The nebula itself is a living being. And those energy-draining creatures were just its defense mechanism.
Wow, what a twist.
Talk about a plot twist.
Yeah, that's where the episode, I think, goes from a cool sci-fi premise to this really thought-provoking, exploration of ethics and responsibility.
Right.
If we encounter life in these unexpected forms, how do we make sure we don't harm it? Even unintentionally.
Right. It's like a first contact situation, but on a huge scale.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And Voyager's like smack dab in the middle of that dilemma. They've injured this huge life form. And Captain Janeway, with her like strong sense of morality, she's like, we need to fix this.
We got to make this right.
Yeah. But their initial attempts to fix it using a nucleonic beam, which is like a super focused beam of energy, they don't really work.
Not quite right.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to patch it up, but it's not that simple.
Yeah. The episode really highlights the limits of technology, I think, when you're dealing with something so complex and unknown. We think we're so advanced, but sometimes our best efforts, they just fall short.
And it's humbling.
It is, yeah.
So this is where the emergency medical hologram, or the EMH as we know him, steps in with a solution that is both like brilliant and super risky. He's like, let's use Voyager as a living suture to help the nebula heal.
Wait, what?
I know, right? It's like using a starship as a bandage.
Like a cosmic Band-Aid.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's this wild blend of science and medicine on this massive scale.
And I'm sure it's not without its risks.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, positioning a starship inside a wounded living nebula, not exactly a walk in the park.
Right. It's like trying to do surgery on a giant jellyfish while you were swimming inside of it.
It's a pretty intense scene as Voyager tries to maneuver into position.
Yeah.
They are trying to avoid causing more damage.
Right.
But ultimately it works. They actually pull it off.
Wow, that's incredible. So they actually help this nebula to heal.
They do.
That's amazing.
But it takes a lot out of them.
Right. I imagine that took a lot of energy.
Yeah. Their energy reserves are like seriously depleted, so they need to find a new source of energy like fast.
They need to recharge.
Big time.
Wow. And in a way, it's kind of like this act of healing reflects the crew's own journey. They're far from home. They're wounded by their circumstances.
Yeah.
But they're finding ways to heal and adapt. they're helping something else heal while they themselves are healing.
Yeah, there's this interesting parallel between the nebula's recovery and the crew's growing resilience.
I like that.
And you see it most clearly in how Captain Janeway usually keeps this professional distance, but she starts to let her guard down a bit. Like, she usually asks Chakotay to teach her about this Talaxian morning ritual.
Oh, wow.
It's a small moment, but it shows she's trying to connect with her crew on a deeper level.
That's really significant.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to the power of, like, shared hardship to foster connection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even in the vastness of space, sometimes the most profound discoveries are about ourselves and, like, our relationships with others.
Absolutely. So we have this starship stranded far from home. They encounter a life form that's unlike anything they've ever imagined. They accidentally hurt it, and then they find a way to help it heal. It's a story that really makes you wonder what else might be out there, right? Like, what else are we missing?
Exactly.
What else are we not seeing? It's challenging our whole definition of life itself.
It really makes you think.
So Voyager just pulled off this amazing interstellar surgery, but, you know, they aren't out of trouble yet. Helping the nebula really drained their energy, and they still need to, like, recharge desperately.
Yeah, this is where the episode kind of shifts gears a little bit, right?
Oh.
We go from this, like, big cosmic encounter, and then we zoom in on the crew and how they are adapting.
Yeah, they have to make tough choices, they have to be creative, and they have to rely on each other.
For sure, for sure.
And Neelix, their Talaxian guide, he kind of steps up with a possible solution. He knows about a planet with energy sources that could work for Voyager.
Okay.
It's not exactly convenient, you know, but when you are stuck in the Delta Quadrant, you can't be picky.
You got to take what you can get.
Exactly. And this detour, it gives the episode a chance to show how the crew is coping with being so far from home. Like, we see Janeway trying to connect with her crew more personally. She is learning about their traditions and rituals.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, she even asks Chakotay, the first officer, to teach her about Nuanka, that Talaxian mourning period. It's like she's trying to close the gap between being the captain and understanding her crew's feelings.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, and other crew members are finding comfort in things they miss. Like Paris, he makes this holodeck program of a French bistro.
Oh, it's a good idea.
It's a way to feel closer to Earth, you know? And it becomes this place where the crew can gather and feel a little bit normal.
Like a little slice of home.
Exactly. It shows that even in these crazy situations, people want those little comforts that remind them of home.
Absolutely.
And then there's Kim. He's like deep diving into studying the nebula, even with everything else going on.
Well, someone's got to do it right.
I know, right? He is dedicated to science.
It speaks to that, like, basic human drive.
Yeah.
You know, to understand the universe. It's not just about surviving. It's about learning and growing.
Totally. And, of course, we can't forget Neelix. He's busy with his cooking experiments, which are probably pretty entertaining for the crew.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, even with his kind of questionable recipes, he's trying to keep things normal.
That's so important.
It shows how important routine is for morale.
Yeah, keeping up those routines even when everything's gone haywire.
Yeah, exactly. But just as they are getting close to this planet that could refuel them, Voyager runs into another problem, a Kazan ship.
Oh, no, not the Kazan.
I know the Kazan are not known for being friendly. They're not exactly going to roll out the welcome mat.
They're trouble.
Yeah. This adds a lot of tension to the episode. It reminds us that the Delta Quadrant is a dangerous place. Voyager has to deal with the mystery of the nebula, but also the threat from other species.
It's like a double whammy.
Yeah, and the Kazan, they don't waste time showing what they want. They tell Voyager to hand over their transporter technology if they want safe passage.
Oh, wow. So it's like a shakedown.
Basically. The Kazan see Voyager's tech, and they want it for themselves. They think it will give them power.
Classic power play.
But Janeway, she refuses. She's not going to risk her crew or their technology. She doesn't back down from a challenge.
She's a tough cookie.
Especially when it comes to protecting her people.
Yeah.
It shows how strong a leader she is and how much she believes in Starfleet's values.
She's not going to compromise her principles.
Even when the odds are against her.
Right.
So you have this standoff. Voyager is outgunned and low on energy. But Janeway, she's a brilliant tactician. And the crew, they think fast, and they manage to outsmart the Kazan.
They escape.
They make this thrilling escape.
Nice.
It shows how well they work together and how they use their technology to overcome obstacles.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
For real.
Yeah.
But even though they got away, the crew is still dealing with a lot emotionally. The Nuanka mourning period is still affecting them. And Chakotay, he steps up to help.
Oh, that's good.
He shares his Native American traditions, specifically this idea of animal guides. It's a way to help the crew deal with their grief and find strength.
That's beautiful.
It's such a great example of how different cultures have different ways of coping with loss.
And finding meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chakotay sharing his beliefs, it brings the crew closer together.
I love that.
And he even guides Janeway through meditation to help her connect with her own animal guide.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's a moment that shows how important it is to be open to guidance from unexpected places.
Yeah, you never know where you'll find wisdom, right?
Right. And this whole thing, it kind of mirrors their encounter with the nebula, you know?
Oh, so.
They faced something totally unknown, and they had to adapt, think differently, and rely on each other to survive.
I see the parallel. That's cool.
Well, yeah, and even though they escaped the Kazan, they are still in a tough spot.
Right. They're still low on energy.
Super low, and they haven't reached that planet with the possible energy source.
So it's a race against time.
Absolutely. The stakes are getting higher every minute.
Think about suspense.
And that's where the episode leaves us hanging.
Oh, man.
We are left wondering, will they make it to the planet?
Yeah.
What new challenges are waiting for them?
Right.
And will they ever find a way back home?
The big question.
It keeps you on the edge of your seat.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
When we left Voyager, they were practically running on empty after that run-in with the Kazan. And they're in a serious time crunch to get their energy back up, you know?
It's like the episode throws one problem after another at them, doesn't it? Keeps the pressure on. But hey, maybe that planet Neelix mentioned will be their saving grace.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right? So they finally make it to this planet, and it's a Class M world. So that means it could have life, but as we know, the Delta Quadrant likes to throw a curveball.
You're always keeping them on their toes, huh?
Right, and this time the curveball is some really strange electromagnetic stuff happening on this planet. It's messing up Voyager sensors so they can't get a good read on what's down there.
They're trying to look through a blurry window.
Exactly, it's frustrating. But Janeway, she's not one to back down from a challenge, so she decides to send an away team down to the surface. Chakotay leads the team, and their mission is to find those energy sources that could work for Voyager.
A risky move, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
No risk, no reward, right? And it turns out this planet is full of surprises. The away team finds these bizarre rock formations that seem to be giving off pulses of energy.
Sounds like those energy pulses might be tied to those weird electromagnetic readings they were getting. Maybe this planet has its own unique energy system going on.
Yeah, it's really something else. And as they go deeper, they find something even more intriguing, signs of an old civilization, like ruins and stuff suggesting that people used to live here a long time ago.
Wow, a lost civilization. Adds a whole new layer to the story, doesn't it? Makes you wonder about the history of this planet and what happened to those people.
I know, right? But Voyager's top priority is still finding those energy sources. So the away team keeps searching, and eventually they come across this cave that's giving off a really strong energy signal, the kind that might just work for Voyager.
Sounds promising. But knowing this planet, they're probably being extra careful.
Oh yeah, they're not taking any chances. Inside the cave, they find this huge crystal formation that's pulsing with energy. It seems like this is what's been causing those electromagnetic anomalies.
A giant energy crystal, huh? It's like something out of a sci-fi novel. Makes you wonder what kind of secrets it holds.
That's what I love about Star Trek. It takes these fantastical ideas and makes them feel like they could actually exist. Now, back on Voyager, the EMH has been analyzing data from the planet, and he thinks they can use this crystal formation to replenish their energy.
Interesting that the EMH, who is a doctor, is playing such a key role in this technical problem. It shows how different areas of expertise can come together to solve a problem.
Definitely. But getting energy from this crystal is not a simple task. It requires super precise calculations and a lot of care.
I bet one wrong move could cause a major problem.
Yeah, like they could destabilize the whole thing and who knows what could happen then. So the away team, working with the EMH and the crew back on Voyager, they put their heads together to figure out how to extract the energy safely.
A real team effort.
And after a lot of trial and error, they do it. They manage to get enough energy from the crystal to power up Voyager.
That's awesome. Talk about a relief. Voyager's back in business. It's like watching them overcome these huge obstacles step by step.
And as they're getting ready to leave, they make one last discovery. They realize that the crystal formation isn't just some random natural thing. It was actually made by that ancient civilization they found earlier.
Oh, wow. So that civilization, they were more than just advanced. They were masters of energy manipulation. It changes our whole understanding of them, doesn't it?
Totally. And it leaves us with even more questions like, what was their society really like? How did they build these crystals? What happened to them?
I guess some mysteries are best left for future explorers to solve.
For now, Voyager has to focus on getting home. But this episode, it really shows us how much exploration is about more than just traveling through space.
You're right. It's about pushing our understanding of what's possible, encountering the unexpected, and adapting to the unknown.
And it's about testing our limits, finding strength in each other, and never giving up hope. The cloud is a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's always something amazing waiting to be discovered.
Well said. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into The Cloud. It's an episode that stays with you long after you've seen it.
Until next time, keep exploring.